Hi, Douglas Rosenthal of the Rosenthal Law Firm back with you again. Today I'd like to discuss with you the approach and strategies of handling a petition for a green card based upon your marriage to a U.S. citizen. Now, we have many such clients that have come to our office, and we have helped many people in this situation. And the first thing that I tell clients when they sit down opposite my desk to discuss their new marriage and how they can benefit from getting a green card based upon that marriage is that I tell them that I believe the entire immigration procedure is looking to test one thing. And I have a sign on my wall in my office that if you come and visit me, I will show you. And that sign says, trust. I'm going to look at it right now to read you the small print. It says, trust is the highest form of human motivation. And I believe, in fact, that immigration is testing the trust that has been built up between the two spouses, the husband and the wife. Why is that? Because I explain to clients that in a family relationship setting that immigration offers benefits for, such as a mother and a daughter or son, a father and a daughter and son, or even a brother and sister, these are biological relationships that can be tested by taking a tiny little drop of blood from each finger and doing a DNA test. In our days, DNA testing technology has been so advanced that you can prove a biological relationship to the 99.999 percentile. However, with regard to a marriage, you take a stranger and a man and a woman who did not know each other before, and you put them together, and we consider that relationship to be the most sacrosanct in our society. And yet these people are in fact strangers, and the only way to prove whether or not they truly are husband and wife in the eyes of immigration officials is to test the level of trust between those two people. So how does immigration go about doing that? That's a good question. They use several different components. The main component that they use is a documentary component, and we will go over those documents shortly. However, aside from the documents that you will need to supply in order to support your application, there also is an interview component which you must be aware of. And therefore you must come before an immigration officer, and you must hold yourself out and comport yourself as husband and wife based upon questioning from the immigration officer. Now, you may say that it's not 100% fair, and I would agree with you, because, for instance, let's say you wanted to get married and immigration had no factor in your marriage. Therefore, you could be a high-powered executive on the East Coast, and your wife could theoretically be a high-powered executive on the West Coast. You love her, you speak with her all the time, and on weekends perhaps you meet up in some very fancy hotel in the middle of the United States in Kentucky. And is that marriage a good marriage? Absolutely. Nobody would question that marriage at all. However, the truth is that if you were to file for your spouse for immigration based on such a marriage, the likelihood is that you don't know enough about your wife or your husband to be successful at an immigration interview. Therefore, it is very important that there be a lot of communication between spouses in order to know enough to answer the questions. And I'm not talking about a Stokes interview, which is a secondary interview, which I've discussed on a different video. I'm talking about the initial interview where the immigration officer is asking basic questions, and I've had clients that have not been able to successfully answer them because there's not sufficient communication between the husband and the wife. Now, with regard to trust, I would like to review with you the kind of documentation that immigration is looking for, and that you should start thinking about gathering after you get married so that you can support your application in an appropriate way. I'm going to be reading from a checklist of documents that we have prepared here in the office and that I offer all of our clients who are looking to get a green card based upon their marriage so that they can use this checklist and bring to us all of the documentations to support their application. The first documents that you will need are the birth certificates of both the parties. Obviously, that's very important. You'll also need the quintessential document, and that's obviously the marriage certificate. If the marriage certificate is not in English, in fact, if any of the documents are not in English, they will need to be translated in English for proper submission to the immigration authorities. You will also need any prior divorce decrees to show that you are no longer married at the time that you got married to your current spouse, so that there's no issue of bigamy, etc., and so forth. Now, you will also need to provide receipts showing joint obligations for housing and living expenses such as rent, utilities, telephone, and so forth. Obviously, if you are living together, you should be doing everything together now jointly. Therefore, your mindset should be that all documents that come into the household, such as bills and receipts, should be put on both names. And therefore, you should call up the various companies and advise them to change your account to put your spouse on the name of the existing account. Likewise, if you have a mortgage or if you have a lease, if you have any credit accounts or other financial obligations that have been taken jointly, we would like to see the documentation that evidences those types of items. If you have joint ownership of property, we would like to see the documentation, the title, the deed, etc., which shows both names on the property. Now here comes a biggie. Evidence of joint management of finances, such as joint bank accounts. Immigration is always looking at joint bank accounts, and the question is why? And the answer is because that is a clear indication of trust. If you trust somebody with your money, then immigration will believe that your marriage is true and real. Just to go through a few other documents, we discussed phone bills, photos of the couple. Immigration officers are always interested in seeing photos of the couple. Correspondence to the couple from friends or from family. The wedding invitation or wedding pictures. Of course, joint tax returns is another tremendous document which must be produced if you have already filed tax returns. Letters from employers. Now, I say that a letter from employer not only should state what your title is, what your income is, how long you have been at that title, but it should also have a line that says, in case of emergency, you can contact my spouse, because that's an indication that you are holding out as being married to your employer, and that carries a lot of weight and credibility with the immigration authorities. We look forward to helping you in your application for a green card based upon your marriage to a U.S. citizen. You can always contact us here at the Rosenthal Law Firm at 212-625-8300. As you know, we're located a block away from Federal Plaza, the immigration building in downtown Manhattan, at 350, that's 350 Broadway, Suite 214, New York, New York. We look forward to helping you with regard to your marriage application or any other immigration questions that you may have. Thanks so much.